Galacticmon made its debut in BT11 and it had quite a big impact. It actually took one of the secret slots, which is quite rare. Since then, we haven't really seen much of this deck. However, with the new promo coming in the EX5 box toppers, is it time to get out this deck once more? Let's find out in this new episode of First Draft. Hi everyone, Vortex here and welcome back to First Draft, the series where we talk about my first draft of a deck that is new or returning in the Digimon card game. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Galacticmon. Like I said, it was originally debuted in BT11. A lot of these card decks seem to be debuting in BT11 it seems, but it didn't really get much support after this, unfortunately. But that is changed now with the release of EX5. There is a brand new Destromon, which is the level 5 of the deck. The goal of this deck is essentially to build into your level 5s and level 6s to get powerful effects. The Destromon tends to lead Tamers and the Galacticmon tends to lead Digimon, and they have a lot more controlling aspects with them as well, such as forcing them to attack into a Galacticmon, being able to redirect attacks and much more. It also has one of the more unique features of this deck, which is it has a card in it which allows you to play 50 copies of it. I think there's only about 3 of those decks, those being the ADR or the Mother D-Reaper deck and Eosmon. This actually makes the deck quite consistent, as it turns out, because 20 of your cards are essentially search cards in the deck, and now we have more support coming over in EX5. It's going to be a little bit more consistent for sure. But to get into those big level 5 and level 6s, we essentially need to build a bear. We use stuff like the Snatchmon and the Fusionize to rapidly get into those level 5 and level 6s so we can make a huge impact on the board. Anyways, that's what Galacticmon does, so let's get into our first draft. Okay, so we are in the first draft, Galacticmon, and this deck is quite small because, again, it's one of those decks that features up to 50 cards, so not surprised by the fact that a lot of those cards are dedicated to that card. So let's talk about the egg first. We're going to be playing one Doraemon. We do put a lot of things underneath a Digimon in this deck with the Snatchmon, the Destromon, the Galacticmon, and even some other cards that have now been added to this deck essentially, and this card is just very powerful for the strategy. Getting a draw one is just always nice, and sometimes the consistency of this deck, you just don't get enough draw. You get to search a lot, but you don't get to draw a lot. So Doraemon helps us in this situation and we play 4 of it. Venmon is the card you can play 50 copies of if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can end up doing that. But it has a main effect which allows us to suspend this Digimon and then look at the top 3 cards of the deck, add one Snatch, Destro, Galactic or Fusionize among them, and then place one Venmon among them under this Digimon as its bottom Digievolution card, and then place the rest at the bottom of the deck. This is just an advantage loop essentially, constant searching, but also putting Venmons underneath. Again, if we have that Doraemon underneath, we're going to get a draw one when we do that as well. So not only are we searching the top 3 cards of our deck, we're also getting a draw one and adding cards such as the Snatchmon, Destromon and Galacticmon, and also the Fusionize. This just means that this is our main advantage loop, and it has a very good heritable effect also, which allows us to, when this Digimon would digivolve into Destromon or Galacticmon, reduce the Digievolution cost by 1. If you could stack like 3 or 4 into that, you're essentially getting into level 5s and level 6s for relatively cheap, to the point where it could be for free. So yeah, this card is the pivotal card of the deck, and in my build I play 20 of it. Final level 3 is going to be an interesting one because it's also a promo that's coming out in EX5. It is the Zubamon. There's a lot of talk about this Zubamon, as is within a lot of decks at this point, but this card for me is kind of like a no-brainer in this strategy. It has a on-play effect which says, by placing this card underneath one of your other Digimon in play as its bottom Digievolution card, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, place those cards at the top or bottom of the deck in any order, then if you have a Digimon with Legend Arms trait in play, gain 2 memory. And then it has an inheritable effect, which is while you have a Digimon with the Legend Arms trait or a black Digimon in play, this Digimon gains Raid. So yeah, this card does a lot. It allows us to look at the top 3 cards. This is nice for Venmon, for example, but also we get to put it underneath one of our Digimon, and that's the main thing because that gives us access to Raid. So not only are we able to change the way that our opponent attacks into us, we can also change the way that we attack into our opponent's Digimon. This is a very powerful effect. It It's obviously more powerful in other strategies that you're going to be seeing a lot of in EX5, but yeah, this card is no joke, and in my build I play it at 3. Maybe you can do a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher. And that's all the level 3s. We then go into our only level 4, which is the Snatchmon. Has a when digivolving effect of you may place up to 2 Venmon from your trash onto this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards. Then if there are 4 or more Venmon in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, return 1 Fusion Ice from your trash to your hand. And then it has an inheritable effect. All turns once per turn, when Venmon is placed from this Digimon's Digivolution cards as the bottom of the owner's deck, unsuspend this Digimon and it gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. This essentially means that we get another chance of blocking. We also get to unsuspend, which turns out pretty nice, as it turns out, because a lot of our effects, mainly our Galacticmon, will return things to protect our card essentially. This is just another way we can block again for our deck and also get the Fusion Eyes if we do trash it somehow. So yeah, we do play 4 of this. It's kind of mandatory. Same with the other cards in this deck. We're still playing 2 Destromon from BT11. I kind of like this one because it doesn't require that much setup. When digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, place 1 Venmon among them from under this Digimon as its bottom Digievolution card, and then trash the rest. Then if there are 5 or more Venmon in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, delete one of your opponent's Tamers. Then it also has an inheritable effect of opponent's turn. Once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon attacks, by placing 2 Venmon from one of your Galacticmon's Digievolution cards at the bottom of their owner's decks, switch the target of the attack to this Digimon. So again, we're recycling. We can also unsuspend if we have the Snatchmon underneath, which we probably will. And yeah, that is a very strong effect, obviously. But the main thing that I want to point out here is the deletion of Tamers. There is very, very little interaction with Tamers in the Digimon card game, and Destromon is one of the few cards that you can do that with. I do play this at 2 because I still think that the Digivolve 6 from Venmon can be kind of useful at times, and also just having a when digivolving effect is quite nice at points. But there is obviously the other Destromon, which we'll get into now. The Destromon Promo is similar to the previous one, but we play 4 of it in this deck. It has an on play and when digivolving effect. Delete your opponent's Digimon and Tamers with a total play cost of 3, and then for every Venmon in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, increase the maximum play cost you could choose by this effect by 1. It also has a Digicross requirement, which is a Snatchmon and then 4 Venmon, so you get to reduce it by 5 in this case, so that's pretty neat, playing level 5 for a play cost of 5. We take those, and it also has the similar effect to the inheritable on the previous Destromon, which allows us to place 2 Venmon from under the Galacticmon to the bottom of your deck, change the target to this Digimon. This card is incredible. It does a lot for the deck. It gives you a little bit more play on your turn, allows you to delete not only Tamers but also Digimon as well, and you can also increase that amount, so you can potentially go for a huge swing, deleting a lot of your opponent's resources essentially. In a scenario, you don't want to be playing the old Destromon, you just want to play the new Destromon, but I'm playing a bit of a mix of each because I feel like sometimes I just need to get this card, and I sometimes find myself lacking finding this card in my testing hands. And this card is just generically good if you're able to have all the resources in your hand or the battle area. So yeah, I play 4 of the new Destromon Promo. Then obviously we get into the big Digimon, the poster child of it all, Galacticmon. It is a level 6 and it has the following effects. When digivolving, you may place up to 4 Venmon from your trash under this Digimon as its bottom Digievolution cards. Then if there are 8 or more Venmon in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Also has an all turns effect of when this Digimon would leave the battle area by placing 4 Venmon from this Digimon's Digievolution cards at the bottom of its owner's deck to prevent it from leaving play. And then it also has the start of main phase effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. It's a pretty incredible boss monster to say the least. Not only does it delete, but it also trashes security and also has an inbuilt protection effect. But the thing that you don't get to see with this card is the fact that it also has a blocker. It also allows you to redirect as well, and it can unsuspend again. So in certain turns, you're able to essentially block 3 times, which yeah, that's pretty good, I would say. But yeah, this card is incredible. It's obviously the boss monster of the deck. There is no other version you can play. So yeah, you play 4 of this in your deck. And of course, we wouldn't be playing a control list without Defexmon. Defexmon level 7. If you were to play this card, you can reduce it by 3 for every Digimon or Tamer your opponent has in the field. So ideally you want to be going for cheaper. And then on play, when digivolving, digivolve 1 and then delete all your opponent's Digimon with level 4 or lower. Yeah, pretty good. End your opponent's turn once per turn, delete all your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So again, it's just that real control card that sometimes you lack in the early game, especially as decks have gotten a lot more faster. Unfortunately, Galacticmon is still pretty slow, so just having this card as a reset button in situations is very nice, so I play it at 2. Then we get onto the options, and so we play 4 Fusionize. This is the inbuilt, essentially, archetypal Digivolve card. When you would use this card, if you have a Statue in play, you get to reduce the cost by 1, so you get to play it for free, and then by placing a Venmon or a Destromon from under your trash under one of your Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card, you may Digivolve into one of your Digimon into a Destromon or Galacticmon from your trash for its Digievolution cost. And then it also has a security effect of you may reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, play 1 Venmon among them without paying the cost, and then trash the rest. Yeah, just having a cheaper, because you still have to pay the cost, but just having a cheat way of getting into your boss monsters is obviously very powerful for the deck. And yeah, you play 4 of it because it's searchable, you're able to, you know, cheat, evolution, so yeah, very important for the deck. We also play 4 Pride Memory Boosts. I feel like we don't see this card that much anymore. I guess Power Creeper's one hell of a thing, but this allows us to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play a black Digimon card with a play cost of 4 or less among them without paying its memory cost, and then place this card in the battle area, and then delay, gain 2 memory. Yeah, obviously the main target of this deck you would be going for is obviously the Venmon. The Snatchmon, obviously you can't get because it's cost 6. So yeah, if you get a Venmon, that's perfectly fine, and you get to trash the rest. So it works well with the Fusionize, allows you to get the Fusionize and trash in certain situations, and then you get your resource loop going. So yeah, we play for Pride Memory Boost. And to round off the deck, I am playing Kamiya as my Tamer of choice. It's a set to 3 Tamer, and it has the effect when an attack target is switched, I suspended this Tamer, draw 1, and one of your Digimon gains 2k DP until the end of the turn. This essentially means your Digimon becomes a 16k blocker, and you're able to draw a card when you do block or switch the target. That in itself is very strong, and there are very few decks that can actually go over the 16k DP threshold. You're essentially forcing them to trade or look for an answer to get rid of your Digimon, but they can't do that because you have built-in protection. So I like this Tamer in Galacticmon. I know there are other lists that use a different Tamer, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I like the Kamiya, so I play it at 3. Anyways, that has been my first draft of the deck, but I'm not done yet. Let's talk about some additional cards you could be adding in your version of Galacticmon. So here we are, and I just want to quickly go over these because I don't think there's much variance, unfortunately, with Galacticmon. It kind of needs more archetypal cards to stand out, if I'm being honest, but there are some things you can potentially do with this deck, such as the Ragnar Lordmon stuff. It's a black Digimon, and it's pretty easy to get into, I would say. So essentially you've got the black part sorted, but you just need to sort out the red part. But if you're able to go into this, you've essentially won the game, because with the amount of Venmons you have underneath your Galacticmon, you're going to be able to, you know, get rid of a lot of security essentially. So this card I think is definitely a consideration. Maybe there's a build in the future, especially with the Zudamon, whatever it's called, now in the deck. Maybe there's something you can do here, but I feel like this is a little bit too clunky at this point and doesn't really work. So yeah, I don't play in this version, but it's something that you can definitely do in your version. Ultimate Flare was once the choice option card for this deck because it essentially slows down your opponent quite a bit. I think there is still definitely room for you to play this card. I still think there is a viable route with this card because the D-Digivolve 3 is still powerful to this day. But I think overall, I kind of just want to focus on getting our cards rolling, essentially. If you're looking to play an option card that slows down your opponent, you can definitely play this, but in my version, I decided not to play it. Congo might be a bit of a weird inclusion for a lot of people, but with the way that games are going these days, with how quickly they are ending, I think Congo is definitely a consideration because stuff like D-Brigade, Fenrir Lugamon, there are loads of other rush decks in our formats that can quickly deal with your deck, essentially, and while you do have blocker and redirect in your deck, you can't always do it and you won't have it in time sometimes to deal with their boards. So yeah, definitely a consideration for the deck. I don't play it in my version, but you can definitely consider it for yours. The Tamer that everyone else tends to play is Izzy Izumi. This is the one that sits to 3, but if you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and if they're all black, gain a memory and place them on the top of the deck in any order. This is good for Venmon stacking, but also just getting additional memory, so you're playing a set to 3 Tamer for free essentially. There are merits to this card obviously, but one of the things that I don't like is when I play a different color in this deck, and I just don't like the chance of it missing essentially, because that happens to me way too much, and I definitely don't want that to happen when I play this deck because it could matter a lot. So yeah, I don't play Izzy in my version, but if you're not playing stuff like the Zubamon in your deck, you could definitely consider playing Izzy. And finally, we have Analog Youth. This is just another discard outlet that you could potentially be using. Reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 Digimon among them and trash the remaining cards, and then when a level 5 or higher Digi-Evolution card is deleted, you suspend this Tamer, gain a memory, and hatch Digi-Egg. Yeah, it's good for its discard, but I just don't think it fits the deck at this point. You know, there are definitely builds that you can be playing this in, but I just don't think it fits as well, so I decided not to play it in my build. But anyways, that has been my first draft on Galacticmon. Overall, I do hope that there is a bit more of a future for this deck, because I really enjoy the playstyle of this deck. Just the unique ability of stacking Venmons going into a big Build-A-Bear essentially is kind of fun and funny at the same time. So I hope this deck gets more support. At this point, there is no planned future support. However, there are some talks that it could be potentially in Digimon Liberator, which is that new card game web comic thing that they've mentioned early December. So maybe there could be something. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first draft on Galacticmon, and I'll see you all in the next episode.